Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
So Grant, who are we talking about today?
Today, David, we are talking about Aragorn from the Lost Realm, the tactics hero with 12 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points, who's a Dunedain Ranger warrior. With each enemy engaged with you gets -1 defense, and as a response, after he participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, you can choose an enemy not engaged with you and engage that enemy. David, what's your thoughts?
Well, for the Aragorns, I feel like this is the least used Aragorn that I use. I like the idea of him where he can kind of draw the enemy's fire, because the only requirement to pull an enemy toward you is that that enemy is not engaged with you. So you can pull somebody out of the staging area, or if somebody's getting killed in the in battle and you need to pull an enemy from another player, I think that's really good. So I think in 2-player, Scorpigorn has a lot of interesting uses for that. I think 3 or 4 player, maybe he's not as awesome. At least that part of his ability. I think that -1, he gets -1 attack, or sorry, -1 defense. -1 defense is what I meant to say. Yeah, I think that -1 defense is really key for this version of Aragorn, especially if he's going to be engaging enemies. And so I think that my general impression is that I like this Aragorn, and I think this is the first time we've talked about any card that has 3 versions of it, right? This is the 3rd version of Aragorn. We talked about Koragorn, and we talked about Lore Aragorn with Mr. Underhill, and now this is Scorpigorn. So we have all the Gorns that are out in play for the regular. There's obviously a whole bunch of saga versions, but the one question I have, and I should have probably done my research, but you probably have the cards right in front of you. Does this particular version of Aragorn have a different trait than any of the other 2?
Yes, he does. He has the warrior trait.
Which I think which helps because there's some attachments that can go onto warriors and not onto other things.
You've got like bow view that just come out in the Wilds of Rivanian that attaches to a warrior or a Dale character that deals 1 point of damage direct.
Right.
But you've also got other cards
like Raiment of War and is the Hauberk of Mail.
The Hauberk of Mail. And I think, if I remember rightly, let's have a look. Yes, this version of Aragorn does not have Sentinel. So he does not get that +1 defensive boost whilst wearing the Hauberk. It would be nice to see this version of Aragorn probably have the ranged keyword, because he's had Sentinel in the past 2 forms that he's had. It would be nice for them to be able to do that ranged attack and then have an enemy come and engage with him after he participates in an attack. That's not to say you can't give him the Rivendell bow and just attack at range and then pull an enemy over. But that's just an extra card slot. Who's got that room?
Well, and that makes sense as something to, like, you can really help. Again, I'm thinking 2-player. Like, if you give him the Rivendell bow and you are able to attack somebody else and then be able to pull a second character from that person, like, I think that's a big help for that second person, especially if he's running like a support deck or running a deck that is like, I think of Hobbits where, like Lore Pippin, where you draw a card just by engaging people.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily want to deal with those people, but
he's definitely one of the better versions of Aragorn, in my honest opinion. I mean, I put him on par with Lore Aragorn. I don't really care much for core Aragorn. He's good, and I used him when he came out. But lately, I prefer either Lore Aragorn or this version of Aragorn out of the ones I've played.
The thing that I like about this Aragorn is that it messes around with people's who people are engaged with, and I think that that's not something to be taken lightly. One of the examples I was coming up with before we started recording, and you'll have to help me make sure that I'm saying this correctly, but because all you need to do is kill or destroy an enemy.
You just need to participate. So if he's got ranged and another player's attacking and he's attacking with them,
right,
then it's participating.
But as long as that enemy is destroyed, then you get to engage another enemy. You get to pull an enemy from wherever. Well, you can't pull them out of the discard pile or whatever, but from normal places. So I was thinking that this is one of those cards where timing really can help you out, because he can help you quest. Let's say, and this is natural for Tactics Aragorn, is you can use a quick strike. You have to be engaged with somebody, or you have to have ranged or something. You have to be able to attack somebody to begin with. But if you're able to attack somebody and kill somebody with quick strike in that action window that's between questing and quest resolution, there's an action window in there. So if you can quick strike and kill somebody, then you can pull an enemy out of the staging area, as long as it's not immune to player card effects. And you can engage something, let's say a 3-threat something, and so it's not going to attack you, and you haven't changed your engagement total because you've killed the enemy that you're engaged with, and you can pull something out of the staging area, and so that reduces your overall threat that you're comparing to in the staging area, and you're still just engaged with one and with the same number of enemies. And so, it's just one card, and it may need a little bit of setup because you have to be able to kill the enemy, and but still, it's something to think about in terms of timing. It's not necessarily just a combat action. There's ways to use this that could be very helpful in other phases of the game.
Oh, definitely. In normal combat, you could, if you have multiple readying on Aragorn, whether it be from Cram, Miravor, Unexpected Courage, and you've got him decked out with 9 attack. He's going to destroy pretty much everything ready. Mm-hmm. Pull an enemy engaged with him, destroy that, pull another enemy down. You could clear the board, and it is possible to get Aragorn up to 9 attack. You've got
pretty easy, because that three attack off the top is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if you attach him with both Glamdring and Orcrist that have just been released, that's 4 attack. That's putting him at 7.
Right.
And then if you have access to leadership, if you're playing Orcrist, you will have. You could get the 3 Dunedain marks. That puts him at 10 attack. Mm-hmm. That is ridiculous.
Right, and that kills most enemies unless it's a boss enemy. You're not going to right. You're not going to one-shot a troll or one-shot the brood mother or whatever, or Nazgul, but you're still going to do a lot. And the thing that you were saying, I think, is that also saves an attack.
Yes.
Because the enemy's attack, and then if you attack and kill something, then it pulls something to you.
Yes. One of the better combos I've seen with Tactics Aragorn is loading Merry up with Rohan Warhorse.
Right.
Having 2 Rohan Warhorse on Merry. And even if he's only attacking for 1, participating in an attack with Aragorn, on top of his, say, 3 readies from Unexpected Courage, mm-hmm. If it's a swarming enemy encounter that with surge after surge after surge, and just pulling them down like that.
Right, because Merry has that passive ability that readies another character that is involved in attack.
Yeah, and Rohan Warhorse readies the character that's just participated in an attack.
Right, so then you can use the marry thing again.
Yeah, and
then ready Aragorn again.
Yeah.
And then you can use the marry thing a third time because now both Rohan warhorses are exhausted, and then you can use marry and then the Aragorn thing again.
Yeah, and then you got whatever unexpected courage or cram or
right. And I mean, we're just still sticking into the tactic sphere. We're not even talking, using the other stuff in the other spheres.
And it just gets ridiculous.
It could definitely get up there.
I mean, I see the potential in this card. I've played around with them a few times. I haven't overly the top developed a deck with them, but I've played around and I like the idea. And I am actually considering an idea of tagging Aragorn and Grimby on the Old for that -3 defense.
Oh, jeez. That's almost cheating, right?
I know.
You're like, I know.
The only thing that's drawn me back is that starting threat level. So, David, anything else you want to say about Aragorn?
Yeah, I mean, for those veterans of Card Talk, if you're looking into deep dives into his stats again, just go back and watch the Aragorn, because I think we talk about how well rounded he is, and how there's not very many heroes that can take a SWAT from the Hill Troll at the beginning, So go back and look at those episodes, because those are the ones where we talk about all his stats. Yeah, and then I think this episode we're just talking about how to utilize him kind of in ways that maybe you haven't thought about, or in combos that you haven't really gotten to, But should we ring this guy?
Yeah, let's ring him.
Okay, for those newbies, or even for the veteran watchers who have forgotten, we have a ring system where we rate cards on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 ring is the one card to rule them all, and 10 rings is the worst card in the card pool. And Grant, we'll let you go first. What do you think of Tactics Aragorn?
I like him. I like his effect. I love his flavor text. I love the entire card. Not one of the most used Aragorns I've played with. I've definitely played with him a lot more recently since I've gotten to use effects like the -1 defense, the -2 defense from other cards, like that capitalize on weakening, debuffing the enemy. And I've just had a look at my ratings, and all my ratings for Aragorn have been the same.
What were they? Remind the audience. What were they, Grant? And remind me what they were for myself, too.
For Aragorn, both me and David give it a 2 rings. For Lore Aragorn, I give it a 2 rings, and David give it a 4 rings. And in all honesty, I can't put this one better than the others, so I'm going for 2 rings, because I don't think it's better than Lore Aragorn, but I don't think it's worse than Lore Aragorn. So, David, what would you ring Tactics Aragorn as?
Yeah, I think that this is not a show about Lore Aragorn, but there's just something about Lore Aragorn that I just wasn't setting well. I still think he's a great hero, but I think Tactics Aragorn is better than Lore Aragorn. And because I haven't used him a ton or to his benefit, I feel like I need a little more experience doing those things that I know I can do with him. And that's hard. It's hard when you're trying to rate a card to do that. But I still think he's going to be less useful than Aragorn. Aragorn with that readying is super helpful. So I think I have to go in between the two with a 3. I think I have to go with a 3 rings for Tactics Aragorn.
Okay. So we ringed Scorpion, so I think that's us done for this episode.
So join us next time for Card Talk. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.